And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Thursday afternoon, last Thursday in August. And temperatures outside are very, very pleasant. Low 70s, low to mid 70s across the area. Plenty of sunshine, and we'll make it up today to about 80, 81. Just a beautiful day. You don't get many days like this where low humidity, light winds, and nothing but sunshine and very pleasant temperatures. Great, great day to be outside. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Have you gotten outside to enjoy it yet, Bridgette?
Better yet, I got a question from a listener who is currently, he's probably in a tractor cab for pre-pile right now in sugar beets, and he wants to know, when are we going to have our first killing frost?
What part of the state?
Red River Valley.
Okay.
Within 35 miles of Fargo.
Gotcha. A killing frost, I would say probably, and I took a look at the LRC, and it looks like that first week in October, so not too far off of normal. Now, we are seeing some signs of a pretty good push of some chilly air coming in as we head after Labor Day weekend, either that week or the following week, with some spots of the state, I think the north central, and maybe the western parts of the state, possibly getting their first light frost. But any killing frost or freeze, I think is going to wait until that first week in October, the way it looks right now.
Okay. So for those who are listening, who I know you wanted an answer to that question, there it is. We got it.
So let's enjoy the warm weather. Yeah, the rest of the month is obviously going to wind up above normal, and then September is supposed to overall be an above normal temperature month. So that's why we're kind of thinking I'm pushing this off until early October. But a beautiful, beautiful day out there today. Again, get out and enjoy it if you can. Plenty of sunshine out there. We'll have temps in the low 80s today with those light north winds. Clear skies tonight. Great viewing for the lunar eclipse. We'll drop down to the low 50s. And for Friday, look for a sunny start to the day, then turning partly cloudy in the afternoon. Highs in the low to mid 80s, and a slight chance for a few showers Friday night into early Saturday morning. That doesn't look like a big deal. That's a warm front coming through, and behind that, hot and humid for Saturday, upper 80s. You'll notice an uptick in the humidity under partly cloudy skies, and then could see another round of storms coming in Saturday night, and temperatures on Sunday very similar to Saturday, mid to upper 80s, and again, another chance of storms coming in late Sunday into Sunday night. So I think the pick day of the weekend is probably going to be Saturday. I think we'll see a few more clouds around on Sunday, and possibly a few isolated storms as well.
Also, Saturday will be first tailgating for many people over at North Dakota State University. Make sure that you plan accordingly. Are you taking plenty of drinks for hydration? I don't just mean the ones you bought at the liquor store. You can get any kind in there. Plus, also, don't forget about little shade while we're outside, and pick a great lawn chair, because getting into tailgating a little bit early, you kind of have the whole afternoon to enjoy until 4:30 kickoff. If you have other questions besides when is it going to freeze, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000, brought to us by JLA Insurance. We're taking emails, weather or ag, at flagfamily.com, and the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities, up and running today. So for those who, yesterday I got a couple messages saying, where are you? We now know. We have been rectified, you might say. Addison's done some behind the scenes magic dust and a couple of prayers and a magic 9/16 wrench, and by God, we're operational again here at Weather and Ag in Focus, brought to you by TCG Wheat. Another question for you, Dean, from a listener.
I saw him kicking stuff back there, and that actually worked.
Shut up, Dean. No one needs to know that.
Sorry, man. All right. Sorry. Hey, whatever works.
I made it.
There was a lot of
I made it sound
screaming
good. Yes. And that wasn't even just from you. All right. Listener question for Dean. What time is the eclipse?
Okay, so you can log on to our social media page, WDAYradio.com. I've got an article up there. It begins, I believe it was like right around 9:30, 9:40 this evening, and it peaks, I believe it was right around 11:40 tonight. It was right before midnight where the total lunar eclipse peaks. It's almost total. I think it's like 96, 97%. So between 11:30 and midnight, get out there and you should be able to get a really good view of it because, like I said, skies are going to be clear. So it should be good viewing.
Well, I think folks are fairly excited because if they're asking questions about it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, yeehaw, let's all be paying attention to it, right?
Right.
So that will work out very well.
You've seen I love lunar eclipses. They're cool, but I mean, and it doesn't come around often. I think our next one here in Fargo for a total solar eclipse will be long gone. I think it's 20. We were talking about this on the morning show. I think it's 2099, something like that. So
I've got a chance.
You got a chance. Yeah, well, all right. Good luck, buddy. Those are a sight to see.
I'd like to not be here in 2099. But thanks for asking that. Yep. Okay. All right. Yes, our listener, he says, okay, thank you, but I'll be inside until 10:30 this evening. So, okay. Get out there while
That's
you
perfect.
can.
Then you can get out there after that and kind of watch it. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So for many of you listening yesterday, we had a really fabulous conversation with Peter Christensen, and he was joining us from the Steiger Heritage Club. Now, he helped us with our ticket giveaway for the Steam Threshers reunion, but he had a story to go along with the question, and we didn't get a chance to get it in. So at the end of the show today, we're going to give Peter a call. He's busy setting up things for the Steam Threshers reunion over in Rolog, but he said we can give him a call and hopefully get the story from him at that point in time. So be paying attention later on in the show. Before we get to that, we have the opportunity to visit with Angie Johnson. She is the safety specialist at NDSU for Farm and Ranch, and it's been a little while since we've had a chance to talk to Angie. So I'm really excited about that we do get to talk to her. It's been a little bit. Okay, before we do that, how many of you want to buy a horse? Anybody looking for a pretty pony? Hands up.
Addison?
Seems
Come on.
Crosses my mind every now and then.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, how about the insurance for it? Because you got to factor that in. It's like buying a car.
No, I'm okay.
Put all the factors in. Yeah, it's great fun to look at this stuff. So there is equine insurance. First of all, find the agent that can actually sell to you. Not every agent handles equine insurance. Maybe we'll have to talk to Nate Thorsrud over at JLA Insurance of our phone line and find out what he knows about equines. Then you, just like when you insure a kid, you need to know their background, their age, but now you add the value, the breed, and the discipline on top of it. Is this a working horse? Is this a race horse? Show horses, all those different categories. And what could you insure a horse for? Well, basic coverage, accidents, illness, and even death. So maybe there could be a theft, accidents during transportation, emergency colic surgery. Horses are very prone to colic, like a twisting of the intestines. So this surgery is not uncommon, and you can actually insure for it. Now, if there is a death, the mortality must be verified by a vet. Yep, bad news. That one's a goner. But you still got to have it done. And it can also vary based on the value that you put on the horse. The colic coverage, that handles surgery, but the horse won't be eligible for insurance a year following the surgery. So you better know the rules. Mares and stallions and breeding programs can be insured. With that, you need to have an IgG test and a veterinarian certificate that goes along with it. Underwriters are going to be very intuitive about all sorts of bits of information. Don't be surprised when you have to fill out quite a few items before you have the insurance that you need as far as equine coverage for a horse. So, if you're looking to buy, factor it in. You just never know.
Addison, I think we could pool our money and probably pull this one off.
I don't trust horses for a multitude of reasons.
They're beautiful creatures.
I mean, they're okay. So
you must have had an incident.
All
with
right,
them.
there are a lot of weird directions I could take this. One, I do not trust horses. Out of every animal on the planet, they're the one that get farted on the most. That's weird. Two, my grandma used to have a horse. Everyone in my family used to actually have horses when I was really little. Like, I remember being like 5 and my grandma taking me to the stables, and they were like, this is your mom's horse, this is your brother's horse, this is your grandma's horse, this is your cousin's horse. I had a horse once when I was very small. His name was Odie. I don't know what happened to Odie. He just kind of disappeared when I was 3. I don't
Odie
know
was
about
not
that.
insured. So like a bad news there.
I don't know. But my grandma used to have a giant, big, hulking, like beautiful, like brown coated horse,
Percheron?
giant horse. Her
Yeah.
name was Dee. My grandma tried to get me to ride Dee. I must have been like 7-ish. And we were at the stables. It was just us there that night. And my grandma put me on that horse. And I was sitting on Dee's back for all of about 5 seconds. And my grandma went, and I'd never been on a horse before. I was a little nervous. My grandma went, "Oh, by the way, if you see Dee put her head down, that means she's going to roll, jump off the horse, or she'll kill you." I've never scrambled off of something so fast before. And then Dee did immediately roll around in the dirt like a giant dog.
Well, you might not have gotten dead, but you could have gotten squished.
She was a big horse. That was a big horse. There are pictures of Dee where, like, wow, that was a big horse. I'll have to see if I can find a picture of Dee like you would not believe.
We're going to need photo documentation of that, so please find the picture of Grandma's horse and send her over. We're
I'll
gonna
work
need to
on
know.
it. I'll work. And actually, earlier this year, my aunt, whose name is also Dee, not sure how that works out, but my aunt Dee actually earlier this year just had her back broken by a horse. So things are not going well in the family with horses.
I would like to talk to your insurance agent, and we can do that after the livestock report from the American Ag Network. We'll be back. Well, we're approaching harvest. And it's been a little while since we've had the opportunity to talk with our farm and ranch safety specialist who's going to give us all the tidbits about being careful around harvest. Angie Johnson is here from NDSU. And okay, Angie, it's been long enough that we've talked. What's the recap on the safety camps that were held at the end of the May into June for students? What happened there?
Oh my gosh, we had a phenomenal farm safety camp season this year. We introduced a new location out in Dickinson, and so that was awesome to be able to reach a new audience of young people. And let me tell you what, this is a group of kids that this was where they wanted to be. You know, oftentimes you get kids that are forced to go to a program. Not these kiddos. They take it seriously, and they're excited to be able to learn how to safely do work on a farm.
When you get done, what is the favorite thing that they talk about? Was it the tractor driving? Was it the hydraulics, the PTO hookups? What was it?
Yeah, so a lot of our kids they love we offer an ATV certification, and ironically out in Dickinson this year we had a huge rain event the morning of our ATV program, and so by the afternoon, I'm not kidding you, those kids were covered head to tail in mud from those ATVs. So they had an extra blast of fun with that, but also we do offer kids to be able to learn how to operate a round baler using a tractor. And so a lot of the kids, that was their first time doing that task, and they really enjoyed that as well.
So kids are leaving this program. They have experience, but also can they get their license on the ATV with you or after this course?
Great question. So we partner with North Dakota Parks and Rec. They're the ones that issue the OHV, the over highway vehicle permits or certifications for those youth to be able to legally drive ATVs on public trails across North Dakota. So technically, Bridget, and you and I both know this. Private property is exempt. However, that's really not our goal. Our goal is to teach kids how to safely drive these machines and all of the equipment we work with, no matter if you're driving on a private or a public trail or road, whatever that may be. You need to learn how to do it safely. So at the end of the program, yes, they actually all get their certification through the North Dakota Department of Parks and Rec for ATV driving.
And they are taking items with them. The last time I was with you guys for that conference, I saw kids walking out of there with like welding helmets and all sorts of safety items to take back to the farm. I'm hoping that has continued.
Absolutely. So one of my biggest pet peeves is if we're going to promote safety tools and different safety practices, we better provide these young people with those tools, because it's not like they're going to go home and say, "Mom and Dad, can you please get me hearing protection? I want it so bad." Um and so we make sure we provide that to our young people, and so we could not do that without our sponsors. We have quite a few sponsors across the state of North Dakota, that businesses, local organizations that provide funding, so we can even be able to give kids that farm first aid kit, the hearing protection, the tire pressure gauge, the ATV helmet, you name it. We're trying really hard to equip these kids with the tools they need to be successful and safe at home.
And that's what we like to hear. Equipping everyone for safety. I mean, just in the last few days, we've had the opportunity to talk about farm safety documentary from Kathy Egan Spicer from up near the Walhalla area, where it was Listen Up, Stay Safe. Also, next week at Farm Progress is going to be the debut of a TV series called Perfect Sundays, and it's about the recovery of a dairy farm after the loss of their farmer. So there's a lot of focus that we have for adults. We can't forget about the things that we need to teach the kids as well. And Angie, Big Iron's coming. You are normally there as well. And is this your chance to focus more on the adults versus the kids for a little while?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll be back at Big Iron this year after taking a year hiatus last year. So I'll be back, and looking forward, we're going to be focusing on some grain bin safety, as we just can't stress that enough,
Mm.
especially now across the state. We're going to have some really awkward, immature, weird moisture crops coming off just because of the drought conditions. And so making sure we've got good quality grain going into the bin, and are we monitoring it to prevent, some type of injury from happening if somebody does go in the bin. So grain bin safety will definitely be the highlight this year at our station at the NDSU extension booth.
That's just going to be one of the things that we wanted to hear about today. When we come back, we definitely want to touch on what's been going on with the dry conditions. Have we seen more or less baler fires? Are we all getting better about not sticking our arms where they don't belong? And also some combine fire safety, because we've already gotten most of our wheat crop off. We're going to be coming up on some of those more flammable items like soybeans, sunflowers, and more. And so we'll have that conversation with Angie Johnson, NDSU Farm and Ranch Safety Specialist, when we return. Are you thinking about working on some machining, or are you considering that maybe there's something that you would like to have 3D printed just to kind of get started, right? Does it work for you? Does it not? What kind of materials are they using? You need to go to the guys over at Hall Precision Machine down at Milner. I had a couple of things around the house that needed to be taken care of, and I know after walking through their facility that if I had parts that were breaking, if I was in the midst of harvest and I wasn't able to get things in a timely manner, I would go there and see what they could do to help me out. They have got a great setup for machining and so many more other technical aspects that they can help you with. So put them in your phone. Keep an eye out for Hall Precision Machine because they might be the guys who can solve your problem in a short amount of time versus having to wait for parts from elsewhere. Angie Johnson is here. She's with NDSU. She is their farm and ranch safety specialist. So, Angie, we're well aware. It has been hot. It has been dry. Have you noticed an uptick in baler fires, or are all of our new balers better that we're seeing less potential for fires on them? I mean, I know we still have some older ones out there, but what are the statistics that you see?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's really concerning that, I've already been having to talk about not only Baylor but combine fires in August. Both have been an issue, unfortunately. And you bring up a good point, and honestly, age doesn't matter in this scenario. When you're dealing with dry, flammable materials, you can have a brand new baler go up in smoke just as quickly as an older baler. And so we have actually been working with our North Dakota Forest Service, Tom Clays. He deals a lot with fires and managing those fires, and so there's been an uptick in equipment fire, equipment caused fires, and that hasn't just been balers. There was a disc that disc when he was out disking the field, it hit a rock, which then sparked and caused
Yeah.
the rest of the field to go on fire. I mean, that's just the conditions we're dealing with. So I would say yes, it's been a big problem, Bridgette, and we're trying really hard to focus on some prevention advice to help prevent as much as we can.
You disseminate information like that out to the county agents. Most of us would think, well, this is just common sense, but there are items, there are reminders that folks can be finding, whether it's through the agents, and also you post a number of those things. Angie, where could folks be looking for that?
Absolutely. So use your favorite search engine, whatever, or Google NDSU extension farm safety, and our page will pull up. And we've got a lot of those resources. We've published our combine fire prevention and baler fire prevention materials right there. And this happens to anybody, right? And I'm not saying, this is 100% preventable. And so we try really hard to focus on the things that we can control. So I talk about good baler hygiene, right? Taking the time to use your air compressor, a leaf blower, I don't care, but doing something to get that dirt, dust, chaff, that dry material cleaned up from those moving parts. Because if a part fails, like a bearing, that's where we can get that spark created. And pretty soon, if there's an ignition source, we're going to quickly go up into flames. So we just try to do our best to keep equipment clean and monitor it maybe a little bit more than we normally would.
So Teresa is one of our listeners, and she said she is busy combining up near Lancaster, Minnesota. Her wheat looks beautiful. She does not need a combine fire in her neighborhood right now. And as we as we think about some of the steps that we can be doing, you just mentioned them. Good equipment hygiene. Also, maybe bringing either a tillage tool or a water truck to the field. Are those kind of our top things that folks are doing right now to prevent big fires in the field? Is there something I'm missing that we could be looking at?
Yeah, where you park your equipment's going to be a big one too. And so, for example, anytime we're dealing with Cadillac converters, hot engines, making sure that we're not parking them in tall grass in the ditch, right? So where those dried materials can touch that hot surface. So knowing where you're parking your material or your equipment, as well as it's not a bad idea to carry a infrared thermometer so you can keep an eye on bearing temperature, right? So those bearings are operating at a high speed, and if they fail, they're going to cause friction, which then can cause faulty situations to create a spark, and you know the rest of the story. So being able to keep an eye on the temperatures helps, because if you start noticing a spike or an increase in bearing temperature, that's a really good cue that something's failing, something needs to be fixed or looked into more. So I really recommend that as well. And like you said, having the water truck, it's going to be critical to have at least a 20-pound fire extinguisher. And one of the biggest
Hmm.
questions, Bridget, that you've asked on the show many times is, well, why don't combines just have sprinkler systems built in? And the
I get it
answer is,
every year, Angie. Every
yeah,
year.
every year, right? I'm waiting for it, so that's why I jumped ahead. And so the reason behind a few reasons behind that. One is water and oil don't mix, and so we're dealing with hot hydraulic oil. We're dealing with diesel fuel. So when you have those types of flammable substances, water is not your friend in that case. You want that class A, B, C fire extinguisher that's meant to handle that hot flammable liquid versus using water. And so that's one of the reasons too that we don't have a water system, sprinkler system built in these machines, because that actually could make the problem worse. And really having that water tank is to help prevent the fire from spreading in the field and spreading to other pieces of equipment as well.
In your position, Angie, do you get the opportunity to evaluate potential suppression systems, whether they're on a combine or even some of the water pressure systems that could be mounted to the frame on a grain cart? Do you get a chance to look at those? Have there been any that you saw and went, that really caught my eye?
I wish. So if there's any engineers out there that are interested in collaborating, I would love that opportunity, because unfortunately I haven't. And that's something I'm trying to bridge some gaps with too, is there we need to have some more interaction and be at the table together with folks that are building these products, so that way, we can see the safety side and how that interacts and impacts the end user, the folks that are using the product.
Well, I think that's a huge step. Also, one of the questions that I often get throughout the season and try to address frequently is hay fires. Um, Hay, when it's baled, it's hot, or excuse me, when it's wet, can spontaneously combust. Is there ever a time that hay dries out enough to be safe, or is it always a possibility for a fire even going through our winter months, Angie?
Right. So I'm gonna say, wet hay is not like a fine wine. It does not get better with time. And so if you have that high moisture product, it's not gonna dissipate. And so you're gonna have to feed that product or get it exposed to air somehow, because like you said, when you've got high moisture hay like that, the odds for it to start a fire, spontaneously combust, as you said, are very high. And so that is something, and luckily that hasn't been a huge problem for us this year. There's a silver lining in a dry year. But that is a
Yeah, yeah.
concern producers do need to have when they're baling hay. It's got to be the right moisture in order for it to not heat, to not, catch fire internally.
And I tell you what, this year, something as a watch out, tillage tools. I had a conversation with a grower this morning, South Fargo, and he literally said that tillage tools, when you're out there pulling them in these dry conditions in these heavy clay soils that are all dried out, they're losing inches of iron off the
Yes.
cultivator shanks, chisel plow points. Um, Keep the water truck handy. Right now, we have to worry about a different implement that could be a fire danger.
Absolutely. I mean, just like I said earlier, hitting one rock with that spike or a shovel or a disc, I mean, that started a fire out in central North Dakota not too long ago. And so it's, if you can hang on and wait for Mother Nature to maybe give us some fall rains, that would be a really good start. And plus, save on your tillage equipment. I can't imagine how many shovels you're going to burn through when the soil's been this dry and hot for so long. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to save on your equipment.
Angie, we like highlighting the work that you do, making sure that people understand how much goes into keeping folks safe on the farm every single day. So thanks for taking the time to visit.
Oh, thank you so much. And everybody out there, please practice safety. We want you to come home each and every night. So please take care of yourselves.
And talk to your young drivers. Make sure they understand trucks and equipment are on the road and slow down. All right. When we return, we're going to get that story on Steiger from Peter Christensen. He's going to join us next. Many of you joined us yesterday when we were talking to Peter Christensen of the Steiger Heritage Club. And he was a great sport and helped us with a trivia question to give away some tickets yesterday for the Steam Threshers reunion. But Peter, it took us a while to get to our winner. The question was, what was the year of the first international sale of the Steiger? It was 1965?
Correct.
Yeehaw! Now, you said there was a story behind the first international sale, and I was wondering if you could take a moment and explain that to us.
I sure can. It's an interesting story. The largest farmer from Spain was actually a World War II hero, and he'd had the bottom half of one leg shot off in the war. And about every 3 years, he would come over to the Mayo Clinic to get his leg check done. And when he was visiting the Mayo Clinic, he heard about this tractor that had been built in northern Minnesota that was a large tractor. And so he was interested in it. And when he called, he actually got through to my dad because he was the only one selling them. And so he invited this guy. The guy's name was Mr. Picanol. And he invited Mr. Picanol. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, I'll bring you up to the plant where we build them out on the farm up at Red Lake Falls. And Mr. Picanol said, no. I won't go up there. He said, there's Indians up there. So he wouldn't go that far north. But Dad convinced him to go as far as Glendon, which is just outside of Moorhead. And the Skolnick brothers from Glendon had bought one of the first 10 Steigers. So they went out to the Skolnick farm, and they had the tractor in the field. And according to my father, Mr. Picanol came out there, and he spoke very broken English. And he had a cane because of his leg, and he just walked around the tractor with his cane and kept tapping the tractor and saying, simple, simple. And so they got done, and they went, and there was a big truck stop at Glendon. And they went in the truck stop in the restaurant, and Mr. Picanol said, I want to buy a new 2200 Steiger. And at the time, my dad was also an Alice Chalmers dealer, and he wanted to buy a whole bunch of steel track Alice Chalmers crawlers for some other dirt work he had. And so literally, Dad said he wrote it all down on a napkin, and Mr. Picanol said, thank you, Earl, and shook his hand and got it in his chauffeur-driven car, and away he went. Well, so Dad was excited, and he called Doug and Morris Steiger and said, hey, I just sold this tractor to this gentleman from Spain. And frankly, the two brothers thought possibly my dad was having a nervous breakdown, and they said, Earl, are you sure? You know what I mean? Like, they really didn't believe him. And so then he called the territory man for Alice Chalmers and told him this whole laundry list of Alice Chalmers equipment he sold to this gentleman from Spain. And again, the guy from Alice Chalmers thought that Dad was having a nervous breakdown and said, Earl, let's just calm down and talk about this. And they really wouldn't take him seriously. So now this is 1965. It isn't like it is today. So to make an international phone call was a major deal. Dad made an international phone call to Mr. Picanol, and he called him and he said, Mr. Picanol, I've got a problem. He said, I can't get you the equipment because everyone here thinks that I'm having a nervous breakdown and they won't believe me. And Mr. Picanol says, well, he says, I tell you what, Earl, he said, I'll solve that problem. And click, he hangs the phone up. And Dad's thinking, what's going to go on now? Well, the next day he gets a call from the bank in Elbow Lake. Now, this is 1965. And the bank calls Dad and says, Earl, we don't know what's going on here, but $300,000 was just wired into our bank. $300,000 in 1965 is north of $3 million today.
Yes.
And of course, when the money was in the bank, all at once, the guy from Alice Chalmers and the Steiger brothers didn't think Dad was crazy anymore. And so it was a big event. They loaded all the equipment on semis and they staged them in Elbow Lake. And what was really kind of neat was that at the time, my grandfather was dying of lung cancer. And my dad tells a story on how proud his father was when they saw all these truckloads of equipment that were being taken out of Elbow Lake to go to the port and then go on to Spain. So that's the story behind the first sale of a Steiger internationally.
Peter, I am so glad we called to get that story because that is exceptional. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Well, as you get ready for Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion and the Steiger highlight, good luck. Have a wonderful time, and I know it's going to go great. Thank you.
We will enjoy it, and everyone needs to know there's going to be a lot of people there that will have a lot of stories.
Well, I'm blocking off a day for it myself. I'm looking forward to being there as well. Peter Christensen, again, he is joining us, getting ready for Rolog, and he is part of the Steiger Heritage Club as well. So thanks to him. Well, as we talk a little bit about history, there's so many different aspects of ag history to touch on. One of them, let's talk about those crop dusters, now professionally known as aerial applicators. But when you think about it, how'd that profession get started? Well, let's go back in time. Ag and Aviation celebrate the 105th anniversary of the first use of an airplane for ag aviation. In 1929, an Army Air Corps pilot named Lieutenant John McCready had a specially modified Curtiss JN-4 Jenny, and he would spread lead arsenate over a 6-acre grove of trees. These particular trees were used as the hardwood for railroad ties and fence posts. And the plane was fitted with a makeshift hopper and a release mechanism. Flying at about 20 to 35 feet over the orchard, he would spread this insecticide and would rely on the wind as well as the propeller currents to cover the powder to the rear of the plane, or to carry it to the rear of the plane and then down to the grove. It took 5 refills to cover the acres, but the dusting was incredibly successful and proved that they could do it by plane faster than by ground. So it also turns out that this particular gentleman was one of the Army's very best pilots. He was chief of engineering of the division's flight test section at McCook Field near Dayton, Ohio, and he led America's first military test pilots. He had a world altitude record of 40,800 feet in 1922, and he also made the first crop dusting flights and participated in the first aerial survey of the United States in 1924. All of this was ongoing, and really the production of planes for field use surged after World War II. There were a lot of extra planes. People were wondering what to do with them. So the Civil Aeronautics Commission started registering planes to use for agriculture, and over 5,000 aircraft were listed well into the 1950s. It was an innovation that showed that they could spray 60 to 70 acres an hour compared with 100 acres a day done by a tractor-drawn ground sprayer. Fortunately, aircraft adapted for aerial spraying had a high accident rate, so safety measures were truly put in place. And in 1949, the Civil Aeronautics Association contracted with Texas A&M to build a plane specially designed for agricultural use. And they built the Ag-1 prototype, single-seat, low-wiring ag plane with an open cockpit, 225 horsepower, and the history lives on. We now see ag cats flying. And now the next step is going to be some of the drone work that we see being done across the region. Hope you enjoyed today's stories, history, and so much more. Stay tuned for Jay Thomas Show next.